Question for you. Are boys easier to raise than girls? That is the question. And I kind of want to sit in that because number one, someone said that to me this past weekend. But the reason why they said boys are easier is because they said girls are conniving. We're going to have more of a conversation about that. But first, the intro. And welcome back to another episode of the Daily Donna with me, your host, Dr. Donna Oriowo, sex and relationship therapist in the Washington, D.C. metro area, author of Drink Water and Mind Your Business, a Black woman's guide to unlearning the BS and healing some self-esteem. Now, when I think of BS, I think this might be it, right? I'm like, now I would like to preface this that with the person who said it to me is quite lovely. And I don't think that they meant anything by it. And I think that they are a product of the times, right? And really, people continue with this general thought about women in general. And I was just like, are girls conniving? And is that what makes boys easier to raise? So I actually wanted to start with a definition. So conniving means it's an adjective meaning given to or involved in conspiring to do something immoral, illegal, or harmful. To secretly allow something considered immoral, illegal, wrong, or harmful to occur. So that is conniving and connive. And I don't know if anyone could say that I have been conniving in my lifetime and that thing would be the thing that makes me more difficult to raise. Now, have I been a liar? Yes, absolutely. Was I conspiring to do something immoral? No. Illegal? No. Harmful? No. It's more like, a parent will tell you no about something and you don't understand why it's no. They didn't express to you why it's no. They simply don't want you to be able to do this thing. In my case, I had a boyfriend back in the day, right? And I was in 11th grade. They were in 12th grade. They had prom. I wanted to go with them to their prom, be their date. And I was told no. Is it conniving to create a fake permission slip after you ask honestly and say that you want to go? Is it conniving to say, yeah, well, I'm a part of the school newspaper, which was true, and a story was assigned for prom, which was also true, and then create yourself a permission slip for a parent to sign so that you can go and cover the story of prom? I mean, I guess that might be a little, it's kind of immoral in the case of lying, but it's not illegal, it's not harmful, and I didn't really conspire with anybody. I did it on my own. So I'm a liar, but I don't know that makes me conniving. You let me know in the chat below whether or not you think your girl was conniving. But I think what really struck me is that the reason for a woman being or girl being difficult to raise is because they are already considered conniving. I'm just like, conniving out the womb. Doesn't a child or a person learn to connive from the people who raised them? I kind of was just like, wait, how did we come to this conclusion? Now, we had also had this awesome Mexican food where I was. And so we was just like, yo, gotta have some more. So I was already thinking like, all right, bet we have, they have one a little, not too far from where I am. So I was just like, all right, bet if we go around X time so that I don't like making special trips, because I don't know if you've seen the price of gas recently, please. So instead, my thought was, when we're going to be in this general area, which is about an hour from us, we're already going to be there. We already have plans to be there. So let's extend the trip. Let's go a little earlier, spend a little less time at the space so that we can go the 20 or 30 minutes from there to the place, had food, and bring our butts back home, which will still take us about the same hour to get back home, right? It takes us an hour to get to our primary place, 30 minutes to our secondary place, and then an hour to get back home. I'm thinking, this girl is smart. She has plans. I was told that's conniving. I was told, see, and that's that thing I'm talking about right there. And I'm just like, huh. I don't know if I would have put the word conniving on it. Number one, because conniving has a negative connotation. We just read the definition, right? It's about things that are immoral, illegal, or harmful. I mean, the only thing that food is probably going to harm is maybe a few of my arteries. But I figure, I'm skating twice a week. I drink water. I try to rest. I try to mind my business, all things that are good for my general health overall. And I think that eating good food, something that brings you pleasure, is also great for your health. So I don't think it falls into any of these categories. And maybe this person misspoke, except for conniving was used multiple times. To which I had to sit in, why would this person, or rather, why would a group of people think that girls are conniving? Because though this person may have said it, a bunch of people think it, a bunch of people feel it. And I want to know, have we taken the time to really reflect on what this thing means? And that's what we're doing now. We're sort of just reflecting on the idea of girls as being conniving, and thus it makes them more difficult to raise. And my thought process is this: when women have been delegated to being only seen as a quiet assist for a man who would lead, it is easy to miss leadership skills and instead require it to have a negative connotation because that person shouldn't have had it in the first place. I want you to sit in there with me. What I'm saying here is that because a lot of people expect women to be demure and quiet, to only be seeking husbands who they will support, the idea that you have executive functioning skills can be relabeled as conniving. And so people take away what are clearly leadership skill assets that never get fully developed, because we will only see girls as being sneaky and conniving. And I think this gets even worse when it's Black women, right? I think it actually follows the flow of power. When white men do conniving-ish, they are not seen as being conniving. They're being seen as forward thinkers, people who they're seen as good leaders, despite the fact that we don't even understand fully where they're leading us to, usually to our own hell or to some level of demise, because we're just trying to go with the flow. And the flow says that white men are the type of people who should lead, who have the skill set, and who are clearly so smart. Like, we think that the white man's water is cooler, and that his air is better, and just whatever, right? And when you have been socialized to believe that white is right because it is white, then it leads you to a space where we can turn off critical thinking and just sort of go with the flow of what this thing is. So I'm Black, and so I'm conniving simply because I'm not white. I am less trustworthy, right? And this is historical happenstance. But also, men are seen as leaders. Men are the providers. They provide and they protect. No one ever wants to talk about the fact that the thing that they need to protect us from is them, because they are the ones that is most dangerous to us. But hey, conversation for another day, right? No one ever talks about the fact that the only reason that they have to provide for women is because they've also done everything in their power to ensure that women are not able to achieve at the same levels, including stopping us from our education, not allowing us to have bank accounts until the 60s. And because women are still being paid, what is it, like 60 cents, 70 cents to a man's dollar? And I'm talking about Black women specifically. So that's where my numbers are coming from. I'm not talking about white women who get more but still are not getting what they are owed. So I'm like, well, if you lower my paycheck for doing the same work that you did, of course you would need to go ahead and hitch your wagon to some dude in order to make up the dang difference. So I'm looking like, so you cheat us out of things because we're Black, you cheat us out of things because we're white or because we're women. So because we're Black and because we're women, we get cheated out of things. And then You say that you have to provide and protect us from the you who started all of our problems? Okay. Round of applause. That seems conniving. And yet, men are very rarely seen as conniving. We think of conniving almost as a feminine trait. Like sneakiness is a feminine trait. And my flabbers are always gasted by something of that nature because I'm trying to figure out, how did we even get here? Because the things that were seen or named as conniving for me, I would think of as executive functioning, of high executive functioning that is the display of one's leadership. Let's look at this thing together. So I'm going to put this thing on the screen. This is like a little pie chart, as it were, of executive functioning. Now you can see that there are 8 wedges here. The first wedge is about impulse control. We think before we act. We have considered, right? We're doing emotional control. So we're able to keep our feelings in check. And granted, emotions are not intended to be controlled. They're meant to be understood and given some space. You don't control your feelings, you control your behavior. But I understand what they're saying here, which for me feels like you understand what your emotions are, but you're still able to prioritize the task at hand. You're flexible in your thinking, which means that you will adjust your behavior if things come up that are unexpected. Boom, makes sense. You got good working memory, which means that you're able to keep key information on mind so that you can go ahead and plan accordingly. You are great at self-monitoring. You have self-awareness. So you know what it is that you're doing in the moment, you know how it is that you're doing in the moment, and you're able to use your flexible thinking to behave accordingly. Then, of course, you have your planning and prioritizing, so you're able to set and meet goals. Baby, I am a goal planning queen. That's what I am, a goal planning queen. I can help you set them and I can help you meet them. I was doing this with teenagers. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Been doing this type of work since 2012 minimum. And not, and like, if I'm being honest, I'm like, wow, I was also creating plans for people's therapy that we would also try to meet. I'm like, stop playing with me. Goal planning and moving things, knowing what's a priority and what's not a priority. Come on now, got that in bag. Back to this list. Task initiation, being able to take action to get started on a task, and then keeping things organized physically and mentally. If I say I want to go to a specific restaurant and I know that that restaurant is an hour away and that we do not have the funds to be making special trips just to go to this one restaurant, and I said, instead, let us marry this trip to go to this restaurant with this other task that we are already doing in that area. Is that conniving, or is that executive planning leadership displays? Please, it requires me to be flexible in my thinking. Unexpectedly, I found out that I like this restaurant and I would like to eat there. Boom. It meant that I needed to think it through before I act. I'm like, okay, yes, I could have just put us in the car and put us, to go to the restaurant, or I can have some impulse control and make a plan for when I actually want to go. First, I did number 2, then I did number 3, then number 1, and then number 6. We're gonna do the main thing first, and then we're gonna do this thing as a side quest. I also had to have good working memory. I had to remember that this thing was coming up and be willing to do a little research or ask someone to do the research to figure out how far is it from our destination. Mr. Boothang did that research, looked it up for me to say, like, oh, this thing is only 30 minutes from the place that we're going to be. I was like, okay, bad. So a girl is organized. I'm looking like we're going to put it on the calendar when we get home. We're going to financially plan to be able to go to this restaurant so that we don't, go over our budget, our set budget. I'm looking like, to me, all of this stuff is a win. It's a boon. Like, I did that. And then to be, then be like, see, and that's why girls are more difficult to raise. I'm looking like, huh. I think the main thing for me here is it makes me wonder how often there are delightful skills that a child displays that are being reimagined as something negative because it goes against whatever agenda a parent may have, or because it goes against what someone thinks someone of a certain gender or certain race should be able to do quickly and easily. Because I'm wondering how often it is. Like, I'm thinking back to, what was it, 16-year-old me who wanted to go to prom. That was my objective. That was my task. That was my goal. I wanted to go and enjoy prom with my boyfriend, who my parents knew about. They decided that the answer was no to going to prom. They did not tell me why. It may have been a financial reason. It could have been that they didn't think that I was old enough to go to prom, but I knew him best because I spent the most time with him. They didn't know him as well as I knew him, despite the fact that he had spent time at our house. Right? Despite the fact that they let me get in a car with this person. So I'm like, you gotta trust them enough with your eldest, your favorite child, right? So I'm just like, whose judgment is it that we're not trusting? Is it mine or is it yours? Are we not trusting the school that you send me to in order to keep me safe? Right? This is a school event that I'm going to with someone from the school, to be surrounded with people from the school, and then I'm returning home. I'm not asking for after parties or other activities. I know that a lot of y'all were real adventurous back then. I was an L7, right? I was like a square. Isn't that right? Like an L7, a square. I wasn't doing any extras. I didn't do any drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything, right? And quite frankly, I grew up into an L7 adult. I don't do those things now. So it leads me to believe that this was maybe more about reestablishing some level of power and control, which I reject. And I also reject the notion that boys are easier to raise. I'm like, because what I'm hearing is that we don't teach boys to use and develop their skills of executive functioning, to properly plan, to execute plans, and to do it to the best of their abilities. I think that every time we say that boys are easier, we do a disservice not only to girls, but to the boys themselves. Because what exactly are we saying about them? That they can't think clearly, that they don't know how to plan, that they don't know how to ask for what they want? Because here's the other piece of it: the way that sexism is set up, do boys have the same reasoning to be so conniving? Or when they make a request, do the people in the environment bend to the request? Do they hear the request and make room for it because boys get to be boys, but girls get to be adults? It's just a question that I have. That's where I'm sitting. Do we create the system for which girls have to lie, for which they could be considered conniving because they need to conspire to have any level of freedom because they're being blocked at every point by people who refuse to even hear the request in the first place, whose automatic answer is no with no explanation, who don't trust their judgment because they don't trust their own. You can't trust your child's judgment when you don't trust yours. You don't trust yourself enough to know whether or not you raised them well. You don't trust them because you don't trust yourself. You can't trust them because you don't trust yourself. So I think that we do a disservice on multiple levels every single time somebody says boys are easier. When you say boys are easier, you're saying that boys lack executive functioning skills because you made sure that they lacked them, or that you gave them so much room to have the things that they wanted that they had no need to be sneaky and conniving. Whereas our automatic answers for girls are always going to be no. So we encourage them to try and find their own way, and then we blame them for it. Gosh, it reminds me of that line in Ever After. Like, what is to be stated or understood, sire, other than you create thieves and then you punish them? I'm looking like, so because I'm stealing the pieces of my life back, now I'm conniving. It's crazy work. It's crazy work. But not only are we doing a disservice to boys and girls, we're also doing a disservice to the very parent who said that nonsense out their mouth. You just told us that you are not a person who knows how to raise your children, which is crazy because half the time they do know how to raise their children. Some of the time they don't, but some of the time they do. And the person that I was talking to, she damn sure did. She did that. So I'm just like, I wonder whose message that is, whose idea does it belong, who does it belong to? Because I think that a lot of us, we end up regurgitating the thing that somebody else said or that someone else had been implying for a long time over time, right? So like if I heard it from my mother, then I know that my mother heard it from her mother, but who does she hear it from, right? And when we get back to the origin of the first person who heard it, who passed that thing down like some really jacked up heirloom, we have to consider where they learned it from and why each generation would even repeat that nonsense, right? Because part of it is not just because they heard it from their mama, but it's also because it keeps getting reinforced outside that these people are X, that those people are Y, that these people are Z. So if we are going off the idea from jump that boys are easier to raise, we have to then consider the question of, well, why are boys easier to raise? And if the answer comes back to girls are sneaky and conniving, we have to consider where did this message come from, but not just where did it come from, who does it serve? So I'm looking like sometimes we got to get into the what, who, what, when, where, why of it all. So who does it serve to say that girls are conniving? Well, it serves patriarchy. It serves men. If we make girls into conniving creatures, it means that boys will always be the ones in leadership positions, that men will always be in leadership positions because we will consistently see women as conniving and sneaky and only out for themselves and people that will tear down the very foundation of the thing that you're trying to create, which means they always need to be put in their place or always have limits placed upon them. What purpose does it serve? We just talked about it, right? It serves men, but it serves them in this particular way. When does it do that? Like, when are we even introducing this concept? We're introducing it from the time that they yay high to a fly, when they are small, so that girls grow up already thinking of themselves literally and are more likely to apologize for the fact that they exist, right? It's part of the reason why women apologize so much, because part of it is not just, it's not just social lubrication, right? It's not just to make things go easier, make things flow easier. Some of it is safety. Yeah, granted, because the people that we need that are providing and protecting are also the ones that are very dangerous to us. But beyond that, it also is serving as a way to demur and to say, I'm sorry that I exist like this. I'm sorry that I exist at this volume, that I exist at this size, that I exist at this color, that I exist in this way that makes things less comfortable for you. Your comfort is my priority. So I apologize for any way that detracts from said comfort. We could do a whole other video on this specifically. So when it starts young and it continues to repeat. And why are we doing it? We're doing it to maintain the status quo. What is power? Who has power? And in what ways is power used to maintain itself? This is it's a CRT question, critical race theory. You have to be asking these questions because it means that we are all thus in a performance, pretending to be something sometimes less than what we are because we're trying to avoid someone calling us conniving. And for me, that very much is part of the BS that we have to unlearn. It's part of the piece that shapes how we know ourselves. Because I said, what you know about you impacts how you feel about you, impacts what you do with it, right? It's the very premise of drink water and mind your business. You can't do self-esteem. You can't have self-esteem. You can't be a person with secure self-esteem until you know who you are. But if what you know came from friends, family, society to tell you that you're less than, we're talking chapters 1 and chapter 2 in this book. If it start off telling you that you are already less than, then what follows after is, how do you feel about the performance you put on to make them comfortable? Which means you're not performing your self-esteem. People don't see your self-esteem. They see your performance. They see the ways that you fake it, right? And we try to fake it till we make it, but you will never make it very far doing that. There's a threshold that you will hit. And it's part of the reason I believe why so many women are so very high achieving and feel so unfulfilled. Because when it's all a performance and you don't get to show up exactly as you are, because someone could literally come out of the blue and call you conniving, to say that you are taking up space from someone else that should be here, that you've reached too high, that you've come too far, that you've done too much. My goodness, the way that you will self-sabotage, the way that you will hit your life to a man or a partner that you don't even like. Oh my goodness. Some of y'all say that there's piss in the dating pool with love, with love, with love. Sometimes it's you. It's not that there's piss out there, it's that you are choosing piss poorly because you think that you need to punish yourself. You've flown too close to the sun, Icarus. You are the one melting the wax in your own wings. You're the one adding weights to your ankles. You knew he wasn't it when you met him. And then you tell me about piss in the dating pool. I'm trying to figure out why you are fishing in a toilet. I digress. The point is, though, that we have to take some time to consider. We have to take some time to consider, to really reflect on some of these things that have simply just been sayings or things that have just been said. We have to consider who they serve, what they serve, and how it actually has long lasting impacts. I would like us to unpack this whole idea that boys are easier to raise, because I don't believe that that is true. Granted, I'm not a parent, so I'm leaving it up to y'all now. In the comments below, let me know, are boys easier to raise? And if so, how do you know? Y'all are the bee's knees. Thank you for coming with me on this circuitous journey of figuring out like the thoughts and the feelings a little bit behind this saying. I must say I'm feeling optimistic that we can have a really good conversation, but I'm also feeling a little cautious because you never know because people be keyboard gangsters. So I find myself cautious, but also quite relieved and content to have been able to say it out, even if it is just me and you. All right, you're the bee's knees. I am Dr. Donna. This is the Daily Donna, where we have those conversations with a therapeutic edge. Be sure to go ahead and grab a copy of Drink Water and Mind Your Business, which I feel was pretty prominently featured in this particular episode. And then let me know in the comments below, number one, what you would like to see me talk about next, because I'm here every day. But also because if boys are easier to raise than girls, I need you to tell me why. All right, y'all. I will be here when? Tomorrow, because this is the Daily Donna. Bye.